welcome to another Lawn Fawn video. It's Kelly here, and today we are so excited to be introducing you to our brand new stamp set, Simply Celebrate Hangouts, its coordinating dies, and coordinating coloring stencils. Simply Celebrate's Hangouts are the perfect hangouts for all of our Simply Celebrate critters. You can mix and match these hangouts with your favorite critters, and it is so much fun to do, and we'll show you how it works in just a second. We're also going to be introducing you to our Daisy Bloom background stencils. This is a set of 3 stencils that creates the most beautiful daisy background. It does the flowers, the flower centers, and the background too, and it's so much fun to use. So let's go ahead and check all of these products out. First, we're going to take a look at Simply Celebrate Hangouts. So we have a brick wall and we have a fence. We have a cute wooden log, and then also this little table that could be a wedding table or a birthday table. We also have a nice little bookshelf full of books, and of course, a piece of cheese for our mice. So now let's go ahead and add some color to these fun images. I'm going to be using my Copic markers here, but you could use colored pencils, watercolor, or our coloring stencils that I'll show you in just a little bit. And for this brick wall, I love doing this fun technique. So I'm going through and doing different shades of brown on all of the little rectangles. And so I add the dark marker and then medium and then light, or sometimes I just do dark and medium just to make it nice and easy. And so that you'll see I'll add the dark marker, and now I'm going to go in and blend it out with the light so that some of the bricks are darker and some are lighter in kind of a random way. Then I take a red marker and I just go right over those bricks. So I just kind of scribble right over top. You can see that right there. And look, it turns it into a brick wall. There's something about the brown with the red over it that looks amazing. And all I had to do was just go over with one red marker. Now for this little fence here, we're going to be using some browns, and we're going to do some lighter browns for the back of the fence, and then for the posts, I'll do a little bit of a darker brown. So we're using the E23 and then the E21 here for the kind of back parts of the fence, and then we'll bring in the E25 for the posts. And I love these Simply Celebrate Hangouts so much. I have been waiting for this stamp set forever because I always want a place for those cute little Simply Celebrate characters to hang out on. And now there's the perfect one for so many different critters. So now we're going to go in with that darker marker and then do the posts. And I love that I can get this really pretty dynamic look just with 3 markers in a brown shade. Now next up, we're going to be working on that wooden log, and that might be one of my favorites because it's perfect for the forest critters oh my gosh, and the little bugs. I just love it. And so I'm going to add a darker brown towards the outside, and then it's going to be lighter towards the center. Then I'm going to take one of the darker brown markers and kind of go over the lines that the stamp set creates for me to give it that really nice texture of a wooden log. Next up, we have this banquet table, and I love that this would be super cute for birthdays, but I think it would be adorable for a wedding. You could add a little veil and a little top hat and everything to the characters. I think it would be so cute. And so this one, I'm kind of decorating it more in a birthday style, so I'm doing a cute little rainbow banner, and then I'm keeping the tablecloth white, and I'm just adding some light blue-green markers here just to give it a little bit of a definition. You could do this with some warm grays too. That way it's not just plain white, and it kind of looks, like there's a little bit of shadow there. So I just blended it out with my colorless blender, and we're just going to go all the way around the edges of the tablecloth. Now this bookshelf is so much fun to color in, and I decided to do rainbow books. This is how we put my son's books on his bookshelf. We put them in rainbow order, and it looks so cute. And so I'm just going to go through bringing in different colors, just kind of layering them in different ways. So some of the details of the book I'll leave open, and then I'll bring my next color of the rainbow in for those ones. And I think this is just a really pretty and fun look. You could of course go with the color scheme of your pattern paper or maybe someone's favorite colors and use those for the books as well. And this little bookshelf is super cute. One of the things that I love about the Simply Celebrate Hangouts is they're great for, of course, our Simply Celebrate critter friends, but they're also really nice little scene builders. So you could use them with some of your favorite stamped images, especially that wooden log and this bookshelf. There's so many cute and fun ways to use it as a fun little scene builder in your cards. So now we've gone ahead and colored in the books. We're going to take the actual shelf part, and I'm going to color that in with those same brown markers that I've been using for that wooden log there. We're going to do that all of the way around. And then to not leave it plain inside, you could of course add a color, but I'm just going to take a nice light gray marker and trace around the books to give them a little bit of a shadow. Now for the cheese. This is so cute. Not only for the mice in our Simply Celebrate sets, but for any of your mice characters. They're just so adorable. And so I'm going to add some yellow here all the way around, just kind of filling in the cheese and adding a little bit more of a shadow towards the outer edges. And then I'm also going to add a shadow into the little circles, the little openings of the Swiss cheese. And I think that's going to look super, super cute too. Next, we're going to take out the coordinating dies, which you can bend apart at the tabs or use your wire snips to separate. We're going to line them up with our stamped images, hold it in place with some low tack tape, then we're going to run it through the die cut machine, and we'll have perfectly cut out images every time. And here are all of the super cute hangouts. They are all so awesome. And I wanted to bring in some of my favorite images from the different Simply Celebrate sets to layer on these. So we have Santa and the reindeer on the brick wall, the cute little bugs on the bookshelf, and our little forest critters on the log. I just think this is so fun. The bunnies are over here celebrating their birthday at the banquet table, and of course, the mice are with their cheese. And then I love this little fence with the farm critters. I just think it's absolutely adorable. And of course, you can mix and match the different critters, layering them on their different hangouts for whatever is going to be the perfect card and whatever your idea is. So the little bunnies on the log, and of course, you can put the forest critters on the brick wall, and the Santa critters can be at the cute little banquet table, and you could do red and green for them, and the mix and match is just so much fun to do. Next up, we're going to take a look at the coloring stencils. And the coloring stencils for the Simply Celebrate Hangouts are a set of 4. And you can see that they have the name etched, and it has 1 of 4, 2 of 4, etc. to help you keep them organized. And we also have etch guidelines that make them really easy to line up with the stamped images. I really love using the coloring stencils for these because they're really big images, and the coloring stencils make it super quick and easy to fill it in. So here you can see I am filling in this log, and then I'm going to bring in a darker brown. So I have dough and then walnut, and I can just bring in a darker brown around the edges to give it that really nice shadow, and I think it looks so beautiful with the coloring stencil. Now, earlier we did a fun technique with our reds and browns on the brick wall with markers. Well, we can do a similar thing here. In this case, I decided to switch it up and do different shades of red on the brick wall. So here I'm going to use chili pepper, lobster, and cranberry to get the look of different shades of red on the bricks. By switching the different shades, I think it just looks so cool and so much fun. Also, with the coloring stencils, the more uneven things are, there's a little bit of shadow on one side, lighter on the other, the more dynamic it's going to look. Now we can work our way down the stencil and fill in some more of these cool little bricks here. And doesn't that look beautiful? I love it just as red bricks. I think it looks amazing. Now for the top part of the wall, we're going to make that wooden here. And so we're just going to fill in some of our ink there, a little bit darker on the outside edges. And that's what it looks like with just the red. But the cool thing about the stencils is I can come back in with other colors. And so we're going to do that now. We're going to line up the stencil again. I'm going to come back in with some dough ink and just layer the brown over the red to get a little bit of a different look. And you can shift your way down the stencil doing all of the different bricks. And so I love layering my inks like this. It's super, super fun to do, and it's kind of exciting to see what it's going to end up looking like. And so I went ahead and just did that on 2 layers of the brick, and on the darker red, I just left it alone. So it's really fun how you can mix and match and get a totally different look by doing that.
So I am using the log from Simply Celebrate Hangouts with the forest critters from Simply Celebrate More Critters. I have all the things stamped out. I do need to add my sentiments to the little speech bubbles. I always think this is really fun to do, and I am using the Simply Celebrate More Critters add-on for this. I love how it gives me some sentiments that go perfectly with the animals that I'm using on my card. And I am making a birthday card today, so I did use that little general birthday sentiment there above the squirrel. For the log, I really love the coloring stencils for these kind of larger areas. And so I am going to use some dough ink, and I'm actually going to put a piece of tape just to kind of protect my critters there. I'm using dough ink first, and I'm doing the top of the log because it's my lighter brown. And then I'm going to come in with some walnut ink for the bottom and create a little bit of shadow. Now this looks pretty good just as it is, but then I thought it would be fun to pull in a Copic marker that's even darker and just add a little bit of detail in here to kind of enhance and highlight some of the wood grain of this log. Next, I've pulled out the new tree branches backdrop. This is the landscape version. I'm going to cut this from some craft cardstock. This is going to kind of set the scene for my cute little critters. So I am going to have to trim off some branches. I'm kind of flipping this around to see which ones I liked at the top. I'll trim off two of these large branches, and then I'm going to keep that little gathering down there in the bottom left corner because it was not in the way of my critters and it kind of gave a nice little foliage in the foreground. I'll add a line of glue right across the top of my log, and I can line up my little critters on the top of the log, and now I have like one big image that I can just put on my card when I'm done. For the background, I'm using the Falling Leaves Petite paper pack. I thought that the blue with the little leaves would be really cute for the sky behind this backdrop. And then I'm also pulling out a piece of that dark green kind of diagonal hatching there. That's just going to be my ground. So I'll trim this down to 4¼ by 5½ to fit on the background of my card. And then I'm just going to make a little strip of the green to go along the bottom. I also need to cut out some leaves to go on my branches, so I've just pulled out two different shades of green from the textured canvas green cardstock pack, and I will take my two sets of leaves and cut some of those out, and we will be assembling those onto the branches here in just a little bit. I want to do some inking on my papers, so I have some broken china distress ink, and I'm just pulling that blue in from the top in the corners to create a little vignette look that kind of peeks out behind my tree branches. So once I have this looking the way I want, yep, that looks pretty good. We're gonna move on to the grass. I always like to kind of add some inking. It just adds a little more interest to the edges of some pattern paper pieces. And so I'm adding some Noble Fur ink just to the top of my grass that's going to go at the bottom. So now that my inking is done, I can add this strip right along the bottom of this piece. So I have my sky and my ground. So when I layered my backdrop over my background, I felt like I needed a bright frame. So I pulled out a 12 by 12 from the Falling Leaves collection. This is that really pretty orangey yellow color. And I cut the largest stitch rectangle frame. So this is going to frame up my images nicely. I am adding a little bit of inking to the tree branches, just using the ink that's left over on my brush from when I colored the log with the coloring stencils. And then I'm adding some glue all around and I will layer this beautiful frame right over top. So I love the look of those branches peeking out from behind that pattern paper frame. And now I'm ready to add my leaves to my branches. So I have just added little dots of glue where those leaves go. I'm picking up the colors and I'm making sure that when there's two on a branch, I use one of each color. I think using two colors of leaves like this really adds some really fun interest to a card. So now that all my elements are assembled, I'm ready to start to put my card together. So I'm putting that pattern paper onto my card base first. For the backdrop, I did add some foam tape all around the frame and some little bits to the branches and the leaves so that everything is popped up off the background and we have some really nice dimension. Now I took my speech bubbles and glued them directly to the background paper, made sure that they were not covered up by the leaves, and now I can add my critters and my log with some foam tape so that they have some dimension. I felt like that bottom corner was a little empty and needed something, so I pulled out one of those branches that I cut off earlier. I added some brown ink to it so it matched the other branches, and I'm just going to tuck this in the corner and kind of make a custom little frame branch down here. What's really fun about these branches is if you cut them off, you can kind of rearrange them a little bit if you want. I added some foam underneath the branch itself so it's popped up like the frame. And then where I added the liquid glue, those parts are going to touch the log, which already have foam behind it. Then I can add my leaves. Luckily, I cut lots of leaves, so I still have leaves left to use. And I'm just adding those with a little bit of liquid glue. For some final touches, we always need some pops of color. So I have some little hearts. These are cut from raspberry cardstock, so it's a nice dark pink. And of course, I use the hearts from the Hearts and Stars Skinny Tag die. And these are the perfect places to add our glitter for some shimmer. So I'm covering my little hearts with some stardust stickles. I'm also going to go around and add some glitter accents to some of the leaves. I think it makes them shine and stand out, almost like they were covered in dew in the morning. And then here is my finished card. I just think it turned out so cute. I love these new hangouts to use with our Simply Celebrate critters, and they are so fun to create little scenes with.
Oh my goodness, Shari, this is so super cute. I love it, and I love how you added the tree branches backdrop too. It's just beautiful with the hangouts in our Simply Celebrate critters. Now here we have a piece of cardstock that's been die cut with the largest stitch rectangle that's 5.5 by 4.25, and we're going to be taking out our daisy bloom stencils. And so we're going to be layering these on to this awesome die cut piece. And we're starting off with some mustard seed distress oxide inks, and we're going to fill in all of the flowers with this beautiful bright yellow. You can do these stencils in any order. You could do the background first, then the flowers, then the centers, or in this case, we're going to do the flower first. You'll see when you try it and you'll find your favorite way. My favorite way is to use the background first, and Rebecca's favorite way is to do the flowers first. So I love that everyone's got their way and it's always going to work. So now we can peel this up, and don't those flowers look amazing? I think they're so pretty. What's really cool is you could actually just add the flower centers and not create a background if you didn't want to. But in this case, we're going to make the background. And so we're easily able to layer these over the flowers, and then we can start to add some fun color. And so we're going to use some Salty Ocean Distress Oxide inks and fill in this whole background. I think it would be really fun to do like a cool rainbow technique over this so that the background was this awesome rainbow for your yellow flowers. It would be so, so fun. But we're going to fill in this whole thing with this beautiful bright blue. I love the idea of the bright blue with the yellow flowers. It's just so pretty. Then we can do my favorite part, which is the big reveal. We're going to peel up the stencil, and look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? I just love how it fills in the background. Then the next thing we're going to do is do our flower centers. So we're going to line up this stencil right over those flowers, and then we're going to fill in here with some vintage photo ink to fill in the flower centers to look kind of like Black Eyed Susan. So they have the yellow daisies with the little brown centers. Then we can peel this up and look at this background. Isn't it just gorgeous? I love this stencil so much. And now this is such a gorgeous background. It's kind of the star of the show. So what we need is just one big sentiment. So we're going to be using our Give It a Whirl messages here, and I absolutely love these because it's a big sentiment that's perfect for layering over pretty stencil backgrounds. And this one says, I'm lucky to have a friend like you. And so we're going to go ahead and just ink this up, and we're going to ink that up with some walnut ink so that we have this beautiful brown sentiment that's going to match the centers of our flowers. The Give It a Whirl messages come with a die that coordinates with them, so we're just going to line that die up so that we can die cut it with that beautiful dotted detail. We'll run it through the die cut machine, and now we'll have this fun little sentiment. Now, just to add a little extra texture to the card, we're going to take out some of this new hemp twine, and this color again is this beautiful brown that's going to match really nice with the brown sentiment and the flower centers. We're going to take a glue dot, and we're going to layer this in what's going to be behind this sentiment. So we're just kind of see, oh, right about there. And that glue dot's going to help hold our string as we wind it around the card. And I love this technique by Rebecca because it does really make it a lot easier to wind it around and keep the string exactly where you want it. And so we're just going to go around 3 times. And then we can just trim off any of the excess, and that glue dot is going to hold all of it in place. And then also once we layer the sentiment over top, that'll help hold it too. And so we're going to add some foam squares to the back of our sentiment panel just to give it a nice pop on this background. And then we can layer it on the card. And I think this is just so fun and sweet. And I can't wait to make a bunch of these in a bunch of different colors. Now the next thing we need to do is just take out a standard size card base that's going to be 5.5 by 4.25. We'll add some adhesive to that, and we can layer this whole panel on top. And this card was so fun to make. I love those beautiful backgrounds, and like I said, I can't wait to do a bunch of these in a bunch of colors using different sentiments on them, so I have cards for whenever I need them. Now next up, Shari is going to do the cutest card, taking the Hangouts and bringing it into the scene of her card. So take it away, Shari.
So this card features the bookcase from Simply Celebrate Hangouts, but I'm also pulling in some elements from Simply Celebrate Graduation and Little Woodland Library Friends. So I've already colored my images. You can see I didn't color all the mice. I'm going to be cutting these apart and kind of creating a different arrangement of things on this card today, but I do need to color my chalkboard, and I really love the coloring stencils for coloring this big chalkboard. So I'm using some storm cloud ink and my blending brush, and I'm just holding my stencil in place, and I'm going all over with that ink. It does look a little splotchy at the moment, but once it absorbs into that paper, it looks perfect for a chalkboard. So now I can cut out all my images with the coordinating dies. And I also used the little bunting banner from the new Tada Diorama scalloped window add-on. So we have that cute little bunting, and there are the little triangle flags that go on it. I just cut my flags from white, and I am going to color them with my Copic markers to match the colors of the books that I colored in my card. So I am going to color a red one, an orange one, a yellow one, a green one, and a teal one so that they match the colorful books on my card. This is a very colorful classroom that I'm creating today. I'm also using some papers from the Bitsy Blooms paperback. This will be the wallpaper on my classroom wall. So I have that fun kind of tealy green hatching design, and I cut that out with the largest of the outside in stitched rectangles. And I'm going to go ahead and put this on my card base. And today I'm using a kraft card base, so I get that kraft frame around the outside edge. I also have a piece of the dark brown wood grain cardstock, so this has that fun wood grain texture to it, and I'm just cutting a little strip. I'm going to put this right along the bottom of my pattern paper to create the floor for my little classroom. Now to stamp my sentiment on my chalkboard, now that it's nice and dry, I did use my anti-static powder tool, but we are going to do some white heat embossing so it looks like chalk. And I love this kind of scripty congrats. So I'm going to stamp the main part of the sentiment first, which is that congrats. I have picked that up with the door of my Misty, and I'm using my clear embossing ink to stamp that down. And I did stamp it a little high on the chalkboard because I'm going to add another smaller sentiment below. So I'm just adding my white embossing powder to that sticky ink and making sure I tap off all the excess. Then I can grab my heat tool. I like to heat it up from the back first and then go to the front. And you just heat it up till all that powder melts and we get that bright white sentiment. Now I'm going to add a little more to this sentiment, so I'm putting it back in my Misty tool. There are these fun little words that you can add to the congrats and the congratulations, so I'm adding "you did it," and I'm just lining that up below the sentiment I already stamped and embossed, and then I will do the same with this one. So I'm just stamping this again with that clear embossing ink. And then I'll add my white embossing powder, and I'll just heat this up with my heat tool till I have that melted and nice and white. And I think that this makes the perfect chalkboard sentiment. So now I need to hang my chalkboard on the wall. I'm just using some tape runner, and I will stick this directly to that background paper. Making sure it's nice and centered, I am putting it a little bit higher so I have space below for my bookcases and the other cute little critters that I want to add to my classroom. So now it's time to add the images that I colored earlier, and we're going to cut some of these apart. So I have my little graduation mice. These two are going to stay together, and they're going to be up at the top, peeking above the chalkboard. This little guy here, he's going to be peeking out from behind the bookcases, and then the other two I'm not actually going to use on this card, but you could keep them for another card later. So these little guys are going up high, so they have a good vantage point of the classroom. I am going to go ahead and add my little banner over here on the left side. This is just, decoration in the classroom, and I'm trimming it off where it comes over the edge of my stitched rectangle piece. This little banner, that's the string and the base pieces, I cut from some narwhal cardstock, and now I can add my little colored banners to this bunting. I just think this adds a really nice pop of color up here at the top of the card because we have a lot of color happening at the bottom. So now we're taking our bookcase and I'm actually going to cut it apart so that it looks like it comes in from the left and the right. So instead of centering up the long bookcase underneath our chalkboard, we have basically made ourselves two bookcases in this classroom today. So I just cut it and I flip-flopped which side it's on. And I'm just adding these with some foam squares so they are popped up with some dimension underneath that chalkboard on the wall. Then I can add my cute little hedgehog who's reading a book. He's going to be down here on the floor, kind of overlapping this bookcase on the right. And then the other little mouse, he is popping up right here below the chalkboard behind that bookcase. I feel like he's kind of hiding out back there looking at everything that's going on in class today. Then we have this stack of books, and I love putting this little worm on top of the stack of books. I just think that's so much fun. But this is also why I kind of put my sentiment towards the right side of the chalkboard so I could overlap some things on the left. And then, of course, the final touch is a little bit of glitter. So I am adding some glitter to the bunting on the wall, a little bit to the apple to make it look shiny, and some touches of glitter to the tassels of the mice. And then here is my finished card with that cute little classroom. I love these new Simply Celebrate Hangouts and how perfectly they coordinate with all the little critters in the Lawn Fawn collection.
I just love how you brought all the Simply Celebrate things, the Hangouts, the new graduation set, even our little Woodland Library friends, together to create a really cute classroom scene. And next up, we're going to make another Simply Celebrate Hangouts card, and we're also going to use this awesome Daisy Bloom background stencils. But in this case, instead of having it be a bold background, we're going to do something a little more subtle. We're going to be using some Lawn Fawn Lemonade ink, and we're going to use the same color of ink on every single step of this stencil. That's going to give us a nice tone-on-tone background that's just going to be so beautiful. So we're going to fill in this whole thing, and you can see that this time we started with the background. Any which way works. Then we can peel up the stencil and we're going to start layering on the flower detail. But instead of switching colors, we're actually just going to stay with the same color to get this nice tone-on-tone look. Then we'll cover this whole panel again with the lemonade ink. Then we can peel up our stencil and then we're going to layer the flower centers and repeat the same thing again. Then once we're done, we can peel up the stencil and you can see this beautiful tone-on-tone look, and I love the bright yellow. It just makes me smile. Now our panel was 5.5 by 4.25, so we're going to take the largest of the stitched rectangle frames, which is that same exact size, and that's going to give us this really cute frame around our pattern paper that we created here with our stencils. And so we're going to add some foam strips to the back of this to give it a nice shadow box look, and then we can layer the frame right over top. Then we're going to take out Simply Celebrate More Critters, and we're going to stamp some of the critters and the speech bubbles too. And we've got our cute little farm critters there, and we've added some color with our markers. And now here we have our Simply Celebrate Hangouts, and we're going to take out the fence, which is a really cute place for our farm critters to be hanging out on. This is the Simply Celebrate More Critters add-on, which has all of these extra little funny, punny phrases that you can have these critters say. We're going to add some foam squares to the back of the fence and then layer that onto our background. And then we're going to add our cute little farm critters right over top, also with a nice pop, since this is a nice, clean, and simple card. Then here we have our little speech bubbles, and we're going to start stamping different phrases from the More Critters add-on, which is so much fun. So we've got, hey there, we all agree, you're a pig deal, and then it's going to say, I kid you not, and then you are awesome. And the puns, they just make me laugh every single time. Like, how could someone not smile when they got this card? It's so cute and funny. And so then we're going to add some foam squares to the back of this whole phrase, and then we can layer that onto the card. The last step is to take a standard size card base that's 5.5 by 4.25. We'll add some adhesive to that and we can layer the whole panel over top. And now this card is all done. And I love that the Hangouts make it so quick and easy to create a card that is just adorable and would make anyone smile. Next up, we have some incredible cards by the design team. And this one here by Megan is so cute. I love her Life's of Zoo sentiment, and it's so much fun with the cute zoo critters on the brick wall. Grace's Say Cheese card is too cute. I love the little mice on the cheese with all of their sentiments. It's just adorable. This card by Letitia is so pretty. I love the gorgeous inking that she did for the Daisy Bloom stencil background. And then this card by Elena is so much fun. I love the little critters on the white fence. It's just adorable. This card here by Audrey is so pretty. I love how gorgeous the inking and shading she did on the Daisy Bloom stencil is. And then here, oh my gosh, the dogs at the birthday party. Could that be any cuter? This card by Tammy just makes me smile. This awesome slimline card by Maureen is just amazing. I love how she brought in the cute little table with the dogs, and then she's got the trees on either side. What a fun scene, and I love how she brought the Hangouts into a cool scene with our yappy birthday dogs. It's just adorable, and I can't wait to make a card just like this one. Our cute little critters are so much fun that Rebecca combined them all on a card for a fun, happy birthday look by adding all the party hats to them. It just looks so sweet and cute and perfect for a party. And then this card here by Megan is so fun. I love how she brought the Simply Celebrate graduation mice in with the bookshelf. And then this card by Elise is so pretty. I love how she used stencil paste over the Daisy Bloom stencil to create beautiful dimension. So we cannot wait to see all of your Simply Celebrate critters hanging out and their beautiful Daisy Bloom cards. So make sure to share them with us. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Bye.